लवकर बोल.
Percentile, if you can pick easy questions, if you pick all the easy questions, you will make the 90 percentile.
कशाला उड्या मारता?
99 percentile, you will have to do.
Hi, all of you people who are live, can you all hear me?
The medium questions, and that is the challenge. And that is the challenge. I'm going to do one small thing. I'm going to share a whiteboard for you. If you can listen to this carefully.
Hello, people who are live, can you all hear me?
When you look at the paper really,
Hello, people who are live, can you all hear me? Hello. I can see Kiran and everyone. Can you all see the whiteboard with the open presentation? Can you all, you all are able to hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Also, I can advise you to make sure two things. One, either you can ensure that there's no background disturbance, which is going to ensure that you can unmute yourself at any point of time, and we can have a verbal discussion too. In the meantime, if you can request your fellow colleagues who are from 30 and 40 who are about to join the session, if they can also join in, possibly we'll be in a shape to start the session soon, and we'll see some of the good content which is going to be required for your CAT examination. So either you can mute yourself, or what you can do is make sure that there's no background disturbance, and you can unmute. We can have an open discussion with respect to the content that we have planned for today. This is going to be the very first session that we have planned for you. I repeat, this is the very first session that we have planned for you. So we'll start something on the level of basic, which is arithmetic, which you will find none of you will face difficulty with respect to solving these questions. But at the same time, I have also planned to take the actual CAT questions. So all the questions that we'll be practicing today, I repeat, all the sections that we're practicing today are all previous year CAT questions, all the genre of arithmetic questions. It's important also for you to actually understand what comes in arithmetic. Okay, your entire preparation plan for your CAT examination, specifically with respect to your quantitative aptitude question, where you've got 34 questions coming in, has been divided into 4 phases. You can see the phase 1 is arithmetic questions. Arithmetic will have chapters or subjects like average, ratio proportion, percentage, profit and loss, mixture allegation, time to distance, time and work, and SINCI. There are 7, 8 easy to go with chapters which will be taught to you in arithmetic 1. So we'll keep 2 sessions on arithmetic 1 on the basic level. Followed by that, the second section is going to be algebra, which will have questions and topics of progression in series, which is AP and GP, followed by quadratic equation. Followed by that, you have got inequalities and polynomials. The third section basically is going to be a topic of geometry, which includes some of the important elements of circles, triangles, and polygons. No doubt mensuration and coordinate will also be a sub-part of it. And the last section is going to be of modern math. Now, what comes in modern math is also important for you to understand. Modern math includes topics like permutation combination. Followed by that, you have got probability, and then you have got set theory. There are 3 chapters. One is permutation combination. Followed by that, you have got probability, and then you have got set theory. Likewise, you have the whole content of quant, which can be covered very easily. So as this is the first session, I repeat, this is the first session. So in this session, we'll see the overall content, which is more inclined towards arithmetic section. As said, in the given content of phase 1 basic, we'll see questions which are based on averages, followed by ratio proportion, followed by percentage, followed by SI and CI. And if time permits, we'll also see questions on time to distance also. Okay. The flow of the session will keep it simple. We'll solve questions along with the concept which is required to solve the question. I repeat, we'll solve the questions, we'll see the question, and we'll see what content and fundamentals will be required. I'll teach you that, and on the basis of that, we'll see if we are able to solve the given question, yes or no. I hope all of you who are live now are able to see the entire screen. So the first question that we have planned for you is of the year 1994, which was the very first time when CAT took place. Though it's a bit old question, but it's going to give you a very clear perspective about the intensity of the question that you may expect with respect to genre, difficulty level, and the concept which is going to be required to solve the question. Okay. To give you a hint, the given topic that we are considering here is a topic of ratio and proportion. I repeat, this is a topic of ratio and proportion. None of you will face difficulty with respect to understanding this question or content. Wherever the concept is required, I'm going to teach you first, and then I'll be taking up the question. But in this kind of a question, which you'll see now, you will not face much of a difficulty. Let's read the question well. You'll understand how and what needs to be done. The question says, Alfonso on his deathbed keeps half of his property for his wife and divides the rest equally among 3 sons, which is Ben, Carl, and Dave, which you can consider as B, C, and D. Some years later, Ben dies and leaves half of his property to his widow and half of the remaining to his brothers C and D equally, which stays together. When C makes his will of keeping half of his property for his widow and keeping the rest for his younger brother D. Likewise, each time, first, let's say Alfonso dies, keeps half of his money to his wife, remaining for his brothers B, C, D. Then B dies, half for the widow of B, and then the remaining for C and D. Then whatever is available with C will keep half for his widow and keeps the remaining for D. Now, what happens? Years later, when D dies, Dave dies, he keeps also the same type where he keeps half of his property for his widow and the remaining for his mother. Who's the mother? Mother was Alfonso's or ABCD's mother, to whom you will see that Alfonso has kept, I repeat, Alfonso has kept his property, half of his property. The question says the mother now has 15,75,000 rupees. The question says Alfonso's wife, or the mother of BCD, now have 15,75,000 in the end. Who all gave the money? If I ask you who all gave the money to the mother, one Alfonso gave, and then followed by that, Dave also gave. So there were 2 people, I repeat, there were 2 people who gave money to the mother. There were 2 people who gave money to the mother. One was Alfonso himself, and second was the last brother D. But D gets money from C, D gets money from B also. Okay, so it's, if you go systematically, you will not face difficulty with respect to understanding what the question type is and what needs to be done. Okay, before you actually start with the question, let's be very clear about the process. So we are discussing about the first guy, which is Alfonso. When Alfonso dies, let's say to start off with, Alfonso has X rupees. Alfonso has X rupees. So it's clear that X by 2 will be given. I repeat, X by 2 will be given to his widow, which is the mother of BCD. And the remaining B, C, and D. So I'll keep on asking questions, so you have to help me out with the opinion on the given statement. If half is being given to A and the remaining is being distributed among B, C, D, how much do you think B will get, C will get, and D will get? People who are live, my question to you is, if half has been given, yes?
X by 6.
X by 6, perfect. So each of them will get X by 6, X by 6, and X by 6. Now what's going to happen now? Now the second statement says B dies, keeps half of the remaining to his wife, widow. So it's going to take or consume X by 12. If X by 12 has been taken by the widow and the remaining X by 12 is being consumed by C and D, how much do you think C and D will get?
X by 24.
Good enough. So X and C and D will get X by 24 and X by 24. Right? Let's actually calculate the property value of C. What is the property value of C? C will have X by 6 plus X by 24, right? How much it is?
5x by 24.
Amazing. So C overall worth, if I have to look into this, the overall worth of C will be 5x upon 24. Now the question says when C dies, it keeps half of the remaining To whom? To his widow. So how much should I remove for the widow of C?
X by 40.
48. 5x upon 48.
X.
Right? 5x upon 48 will be consumed to whom? Will be taken by whom? The widow of C. And the remaining 5x upon 48 will be consumed by D. All of you got this?
Yes.
Everyone out here got this? Yes or no?
Yes.
If all of you got this, now tell me what is the final worth of D? Now, the first thing which I want is the final worth of D. Final worth of D is nothing but x by 6 plus x by 24 plus 5x upon 48. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Quickly, people who are live, help me out with the value of x by 6 plus x by 24 plus 5x by 48. How
11
much?
by 48 x.
How much?
11 by 48 x.
Sure, it's 11 by 48, or do you want to cross check? People who are live and who are not discussing, I want you answers in the comment box. Everyone out here,
15 by 48.
this will be 15x upon 48. All of you got this? This is what we,
It's 11. It's 11 by 48, I guess.
so 6 8s will be 48. This is 8 times. This is 2 times, and this is already 5. 8 plus 2 is 10, 10 plus 5 is 15. So it is 15 upon 48, no?
8 plus 2 is 10. It's okay.
8
Yeah,
plus 2
5x.
is
5x. 5x. Okay, I didn't see 5x. Yeah,
So
perfect.
this overall worth of D in the end in the question given is 15x upon 48, of which half of the given will be half of it will be taken by whom? The widow, which is 15x upon 96 if I'm not wrong, right? And the remaining, which is 15x upon 96, will be taken by whom? Will be taken by the mother. Will be taken by the mother. Now the final worth of mother is being given to you, which is 15,75,000. I know mother got how much? It's 15 upon x plus x by 2. Are you all with me?
Yes.
15x upon 96 plus x by 2. So how much it is? This is into 48, 48. 48 plus 15 will become 63. Yes or no?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So the net worth of mother should be 63x upon 96, which should be equal to 1,15,75,000. Right? Now I want the value of x. I want the value of x. What is the value of x? Quickly. If you know this, you have very well solved all the 3 questions in fact.
It's 24 lakhs.
All of you, okay. What is the answer you got?
24 lakhs.
Okay. Let's wait for others to pitch in here. People who are live, it's my request to all of you to put your answers into the comment box. I'm okay with that. If you want to unmute and have open discussion, I'm open for that too. So 63x upon 96 will be equal to 1,15,75,000. Jayant, Utkarsh, everyone has given me the right answer. The net worth or the total property worth is going to be 24 lakhs. Cool. Now the second question, what is the original share of C? Original share of C is how much? X upon 6, right?
By 6.
So 24 lakhs ka 1/6 is how much?
4 lakhs.
It's a very simple question now. So it is 4 lakhs. What do you have got? Now the next question. What is the ratio of property owned by the widow of 3 sons? The first widow got x by 12 if I'm not wrong. The first widow got x by 12. The second got 5x upon 48. Last got 15x upon 96. So we got a value which is x by 12 followed by 5x upon 48. And the last one got 15x upon 96. Clear?
Yep.
So quickly, perfect. Now tell me the ratio. You can see these 3 values. I don't want anyone to actually calculate a total value because total
8
value
is to
is
10 is to
constant.
15.
Perfect. So don't calculate the value of A's, let's say widow of B, C, and D. That's not required because that's a value which is constant among all, right? All the 3 values will be constant.
Yeah.
So 1/12 of, I will not need that. So the only ratio which I need is 1 by 12 will be 5 upon 48 will be equal to 15 upon 96. Yes. So this is 8 times, this is 2 times. So 8, 10 and 15 will be the final value. All of you got the value. It is as simple as 8 is to 10 is to 15. Anyone who has not understood?
Nope. Done.
Others? 1 upon 12, 5 upon 48, followed by 15 upon 96. The LCM is going to be 96, so we'll multiply this value by 8. This value into 2. So 8 one side, 10 this side, 15 on the other side. All of you got this answer, Ninad, Utkarsh, Jayant, Tanvi, Sanket, everyone. Got the answer? Yes or no? Perfect. Amazing. Just keep the pace very high. That's the only thing which I want. And be very open and transparent with respect to if you're able to solve questions. I appreciate that. If not, feel free to ask questions which you've got. Now, the second question which you can see on the board is of the year 1997. This question type has been taken from averages. Okay. Conceptually, if I have to tell you what average is, mathematically average means it's sum of all the value divided by number of values, right? But it's a value which is a common representation. I repeat, it's a value which is a common representation for the whole group. For example, imagine if there are three values, 70, 77 and 87, if there are three values, and if the question is find the average, either you can add all the three and divide by 3, or you can assume an average. If I can assume a value which is common among all, let me say the assumed average is 70. Now calculate the deviation. The second value is 7 more, and the third value is 17 more. 17 plus 7 is 24, and if you divide 24 among 3, each of them will get 8. So after normalization, what is each value carrying is called as average, which eventually becomes 78, 78, and 78. So we're dealing with the equality with respect to distributing unequal values among a set of numbers so that they all become same. There are two components to find out the value of average mathematically. One, you need the sum total, and second is the number of observation if I go mathematically. If you read this question, this is one of those questions that we can solve just by looking at a question very well. You do not need any pen and paper to solve. So let's verbally read the question, and I think all of us will be able to solve the question really well. The question says there are 60 students in the class. I repeat, there are 60 students in the class. These 60 students are divided into 3 groups, namely A, B, C, with 15, 20, and 25 students each. Then the group of A and C, which is an already made group A and C, has been combined to make the 4th group. So 4th seems to be a subgroup which has been made out of group of A and C. Okay. The only data which I have got is basically about the number of people in each group. I do not have any data with respect to the average age of the whole class, any group also. Let's see the first question. I want all of you to be quicker than me in solving the question. You read the question and I think all of you can actually estimate what the answer is. The first question says, what is the average weight of the students in group D? Group D is the last group which has been made as a subgroup of combining students of A and C. Do you think first it says average weight of D is more than the average weight of A. B says it is more than the average weight of C. C says it is less than the average weight of C. And the fourth says it cannot be determined. What do you think the answer is? Now, it's a very conceptual question. None of you will take more than 10 seconds to actually skim through the options and tell me that what the answer is. We know to calculate the average age or average weight of any group, you need number of people and the total weight or the average weight. I do not know the average weight. I do not know the total weight of any of the group. I'm saying of any of the group.
D.
I do not know the weight of any of the student in any of the group. How
D.
can you determine that whether D is more than A or D is more than C?
Cannot be determined.
Is option number D, which is cannot be determined. Is this clear to all of you?
Yes.
Amisha, Dhanashri, Tanvi, Ninad, Jayant, everyone. People who are live, is this clear? The answer for the first question seems to be cannot be determined. Why cannot be determined? Because the data for the weight is not available with us, so we cannot judge over there. Question number 2. Question number 2 says, if one student from group A shifts to group B, so there are various groups A, B, C, D with 15, 20, 25 students. The question says one student from A shifts to B. Which of the following can be correct? Do you think the answer would be cannot be determined? Can we
Yes.
say the answer is going to
Yes.
be cannot be determined since we do not know the weight of the person who is shifting from A to B?
D.
Some of you will mark C, some of you will mark D. The actual answer is C because you need to read the options really well. The first says the average weight of both the group increases, average weight of both the group decreases, so A and B cannot be possible. D says cannot be determined, but C says the average weight of the whole class remains the same. So understand there are 60 students. Among those 60 students, you are making some groups. There would be some shift. There would be some change in the average weight of the group, but there will be no change on the set of students, which are 60 in number. All of you agree with me? Yes or no? There would be no change in the overall group because all the changes are happening internal to the group. So if a person shift from A to B, there would be a change of the average of A and B, but to the whole group, there would be no impact. All of you agree with me? Yes or no?
Yes.
Arvik, understood?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Let's take the 8th question. If all the students of the class have the same weight, now one data has been given to you. I do not know the numerical value, but I know it's all same. It's all uniform. Then I will not answer this question. I want answers from you guys. Which of the following is false? When you read this statement, which of the following is false, which means out of 4, 3 will be right. I am looking for something which will be not correct. So is that A, B, C, or D? What do you think? Answer for this question is, take 10, 20 seconds more. Answer for this question seems to be option C. The first says the average weight of all the 4 groups will be same. Whether you have 1 student, whether you have 15, 20 students, if the weight of all the students is same in the class, the average weight of all the group will be eventually same. Option number B says the total weight of A and C is twice the weight of B. Yes, that is also correct. Because total weight is the product of average weight into number of people. The average weight is same. And if I look into the numerical value of A, C, and D, A and C, 15 plus 25 is 40, which is double to that of 20. So B is also correct. C says the average weight of D is more than that of A. We are just discussing again and again. It is being told the average weight of all the groups is same. Whether you have 1 student, 2 student, it is not going to be dependent on the number of people. Tanvi, you can unmute and you can ask it out because your doubt could be a doubt for all the other students also. So hence the answer is going to be option C. Yeah, Tanvi.
Audible, sir?
Yeah, please say.
Yeah, so we are talking about average weight over here, right? So the number of students matter. So, but if like we cannot assume that the entire class has the same weight, right?
It has been said if all the students are of the same weight.
Okay. Okay, all right.
Let's say there are 2 students who are on 80 and there are 10 students who are on 80. Do you think the average weight would differ? It's not going to differ, right? So here also it's going to be 80. Here
So
also
but the average weight will remain the same, right? It won't be greater, right?
Of course not. That's why I'm saying option number A is correct. Option number B deals with total weight. Total weight is average into number of people. Average is same. Now N is number of people, which is 15 plus 25, which is 40, double of 20. So the total weight will also be double, right? It's like you have 2 people on 80 and the one side you have got 4 people on 80. So the total will be double, right here.
Okay. Yes. Sir.
Third says the average weight of D is greater than that of A. You only said the average weight will not be dependent on the number of people because everyone is same now.
Thank you. Sir. Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Shall we go ahead and solve the next question?
Yes, sir.
All right. Perfect. Again, the next question which you will see is of the year 1998. This again deals with a question type of ratio and proportion. Now, you can actually classify a couple of questions which are very template based. These are the questions which repeatedly comes in CAT examination. Just the format and the numerical value keeps on changing. So they are saying there are two different units of alcohol and water, and you are mixing again and again. And the final proportion of A versus B, B versus A will be asked. Let's read the question and you'll be able to understand what what is the question I'm trying to tell you. There are two containers. First contains 500 ml of alcohol, pure alcohol. The second contains 500 ml of pure water. 3 cups of alcohol. Make sure you read it well. You have a container full of 500 ml. You have small cups. 3 cups of alcohol from the first container has been removed and mixed with the second container. One thing which has not been told to you is the unit of measurement. What is the size of the cup? So that is something which I have to assume. So 3 cups are taken from the first container and mixed with the second container. Then 3 cups of the mixture of the second container. Why a mixture? Because it has been mixed with alcohol now. So 3 cups of mixture of the second has been poured back to A. The question says, let A denote the proportion of water in the first container. Why proportion of water? Because now in A also, alcohol and water both are mixed. B denotes, what is B denoting? B is the proportion of alcohol in the second. So you have got alcohol by water, water by alcohol. And the question is, you have to tell me the relationship between the unit of A or B. Do you think both are same? Do you think A is more than B? B is more than A? So whenever you have this kind of a question, it's always required either you make either you visualize the containers or you make a container. And I know unit is same. So here also there are 500 units. Here also there are 500 units, but this is of what? This is of alcohol. And this is of pure water. Now they are saying 3 cups of alcohol are taken. As I told, the size of the cup is something which I don't know. So I have to visualize. And the best example which you can consider, each of them will be having the same size. So let's assume 100 ml. Let's assume 100 ml have been taken from A and has been poured to B. So what is the volume of alcohol remaining here? All of us will agree it's going to be 200 ml because 300 has been poured. Now here, water to alcohol was basically 500 and 300. Are we good? There are 500 water and 300 of alcohol which has come. Now 3 cups of this mixture has been poured back to A. Now you understand, here also the unit of measurement is going to be 100 and 100 and 100. You cannot say initially I took 100 and I'm replacing it 200. That's not going to happen. So the proportion of water is 5 upon 8 and the proportion of alcohol is 3 upon 8. It is being told 300 units has been taken out. But this time there will be some alcohol and there will be some water which will go out. What is the proportion of alcohol that will go out? Proportion of alcohol will be 3 by 8 of 300. Are you all with me? Proportion of alcohol is going to be 3 by 8 of 300 and proportion of water will be 5 by 8 of 300. Clear? Now as a value 3 by 8 basically is how much? It's 37.5%. 3 by 8 is 37.5% of 300. Or you can consider this value to be as 900 by 8. 9 by 8 is, the value of 1 by 8 is 12.5. The value of 1 by 8 is 12.5. 12.5 plus 100 will become 112.5, which means the amount of alcohol that you are adding is basically 112.5. Now tell me how much water will go. Water is 5 by 8 of 300. 5 by 8 as a unit. You should remember the value of 5 by 8 or 3 by 8. 3 by 8 I told you is 37.5%. And 5 by 8 as a value is 62.5%. Tell me what is 62.5% of 300.
17.7.
How much is the value of 62.5? Either you can take half of it. Half of it will be 150, which is 50%. 12.5 is 1 by 8. 1 by 8 of 300. 1 by 8 is half ka half ka half. 150, 75, 37.5. So you got 150 plus 37.5. How much is the value of water?
187.5.
All of you got this value. How did I get, or how did you get 187.5? 62.5 is nothing but 50% and 12.5%. 50% is 150. 12.5 is 1 by 8. 1 by 8 is half, then again half, then again half. Half of 300 is 150. 150 ka half 75. 75 ka half 37.5. And 37.5 plus 150 is 37.5. Perfect. Now tell me how much alcohol and how much water is available in container 1. Alcohol is 200 plus 112.5. It's 312.5. If we are good, it's 312.5 and water is 187.5. And the second is C. You are dealing with proportion, right? Proportion we have already have the value. So I will not calculate the overall value. I know it. It's water by alcohol is 5:3. Even if you remove 3 cups, the proportion will remain the same, no? Just the quantity will differ, but the proportion will remain the same. Now here, A denotes the proportion of water. Now tell me water, 187.5 divided by 312.5. How much this value will become? And the second becomes alcohol by water. This value is 3/8. So the value of B is 3/8. And what do you think is the value of A? 187.5 divided by 312.5. All of you. Everyone who's live. $187.5. Yes, so the ratio is 3/5. Utkarsha gave the right answer. The ratio here is 3:5. So let's consider this way. So here the proportion of water is going to be 3/8. Here also the proportion of alcohol is 3/8. And hence, looking at both the values, you will say Jayant, Utkarsha, Bhushan, Ninad, everyone. The value of A is 3/8 and the value of B is 3/8. And hence, both the values are exactly same. Is this clear? See, you cannot say the ratio is 3:5. Even if you know the ratio is 3:5 on both the sides, you will mark C. Proportion deals with total. Out of 8, 3 is taken by alcohol. Out of 8, 3 is taken by water. Are we good? Is this clear? If there's any difficulty in understanding, please unmute, please ask. It's going to be for your betterment only. Everyone out here. Is this clear? Shall we take the next question based on this? Okay. Let's take the next question. Again, this is again a template based question that you can expect in the paper. So you have a set of people, they take something, they leave something. They take something and they leave something. The cycle goes on and on. And finally, the one value will be told to you and you have to find the original value. So I'll give you 30 seconds to read or skim through the question and then we'll have a discussion. If you read the question says 3 friends returning from a movie stopped to eat at a restaurant. The question says after dinner, they paid their bill and noticed a bowl of mint. I repeat, they noticed the bowl of mint at the front counter. Sita took 1/3 of the mint. I repeat, Sita took 1/3 of the mint, but returned 4 because she had some guilt. Fatima took 1/4 of what was left and returned 3 for the same reason. Next is Isabri took the half of the remainder and threw 2 back in the bowl. The question says, finally in the bowl there are 15 mints left when the raid was over. And the question is, find the number of mints which are originally present. There are 2 ways to deal with this. One is bottom down, or you can go from top to bottom, or you can go from bottom to top. If you start from top, you have to assume the original value by bx, and you took 1/3, you left something like this. But you are starting with a variable, which I will not think will be right. Let's start with the bottom value, which has been told. It has been said 17 is there in the ball. But what is happening? How did you get 17? Isabri took half of the remainder. When Isabri came, some value was there. Let's assume that value is x. Isabri took half of it. And and threw 2 back to the ball. So the question says 2 डालने के बाद यहाँ पे 17 हुआ हुआ है. 2 has been put back in the ball. So can we say Isabri actually has taken only 15 of the remaining mints, because 2 डालने के बाद it became 17 in the end. So Isabri had taken 15 of the mint, and this 15 will be nothing a unit of 1 x by 2 because she took only half of the remainder. So we can say x by 2 is 30. So before Asabri came, the total number of units will be 30. Now on this 30, who's operating here? Fatima is operating. Fatima took 1/4. So how much was retained in the ball? You can say 3/4 was retained in the ball. Now 3/4 is retained, but she returned 3. After returning 3, it became 30, which means ideally the number of balls will be 27. Mints will be 27. And we can say 3/4 of x is 27. If 3/4 of x is 27, the original value of x before Fatima will be 9 4s are 36. Now this unit is because of whom? This unit is because of the operation of Sita. Sita took 1/3 and returned 4. After returning 4, the value is 36, which means before returning, the value will be 32. She took 1/3. If she takes 1/3, how much is retained? 2/3. So the question is as simple as 2/3 of the original value. Before Sita, there's no 1. So 2/3 of the original value is 32. Find the total value. So how many mints were there initially? How many mints will be there initially? It's going to be 48. So we'll mark the answer as none of these. If you want me to redo the question, please tell me I'll redo it. If you have understood, we'll see the next set of questions. See, another way is, if you ask me what is the simplest way of solving the question, the simplest and the easiest way of solving the question will take only 5 seconds. Will only take 5 seconds to solve the question. The question says Sita took 1/3 of the mint. I repeat, Sita took 1/3 of the mint. The number of mints initially was integer because you are taking 1/3, you are retaining something. Again, you are taking 1/4 and you are retaining something. Again, you are taking half and retaining something, which means the original value will be a multiple of 3 because only a multiple of 3 can be cancelled out by the denominator 3. None of the options is divisible by 3, so you will mark none of these as the final answer. Had it been any of the option as 33 or something, you will possibly look into the option, those options which are available to you. Otherwise, you will not even solve the question because your worth is way much more than the worth which is required to solve the question. So there's a thumb rule, and the rule says when you read the question, read the options along with the question. If you're not able to find the right option, eliminate a couple of wrong options so that you can save time and you can spend the remaining time only behind the questions which are the options which are there. So you'll make an equation with it then. So basically, if you have the value x, you take x by 3. If you take x by 3, the retained value is 2x by 3. The retained value is 2x by 3, which is there, and 2x by 3 is the value which has been retained. Plus, you have a value which has been returned. How much has been returned? She returned 4. So you have a value which is 2x by 3 upon 4. Then you are taking 1/4 of the whole value, and then you are adding how much? 3 more. So you'll make equation, but it's going to take more time. And then again, you will take half of the given value, and then you will increase the value by 2 back. The overall value by making 3 equations, you will make the value as 17. By doing this also, you can get the value of x, but that is not required. If there's anything which is required, we'll spend time behind only that, because the objective of paper is not to prove how much math do we know. The objective of paper is only to see that you have a common understanding of numerical questions. The questions is always in the form of a story. For example, if I have to tell you any question which comes in the paper of CAT, so let's say a given fundamental topic will come in 4 varieties. You will either see a word-based question, a diagram-based question, a variable-based question, or a numerical-based question. These are 4 formats of the question, but the fundamental is still the same. I repeat, the fundamental will remain the same. For example, if I say in how many ways Ram and Sham can divide 7 chocolates among themselves such that A gets or Ram gets a unit multiple of 2 and Sham gets a multiple of 4, like this, This is a question of permutation combination. On the other hand, if I give you the same question of this type, x plus y is equal to 7, and how many non-negative integral solutions are possible for x and y, you will say this question is basically a topic of algebraic expression. The first question is of permutation combination. On the other hand, if I give you x plus y raised to 7, you will say this is binomial expansion, right? But they're all same questions. Though the answer for all the questions will remain 8, but we'll solve the questions in a great level of a good level of extent. But technically, you need to understand how the formatting of the question has come up. Either it's going to be in the word-based question, diagram-based question, variable-based question, or the numerical-based question. You need to understand what is peculiar and required to solve the question. That's it. Nothing else. The same question can change the format and some other question can come up. Next question deals with which topic will you be categorized this into? People out here. This is a topic of average. Good, but it's a mixture of two things. This topic basically deals with weighted average, if I'm not wrong, because the question says 3 math class X, Y, and Z. I repeat, 3 math class X, Y, and Z. Take an algebra test. The score of X is 83. The score of Y is given. Z is given. The score of X and Y together is 79. The score of Y and Z together is 81. And the question is, what is the average of all 3 classes? To get the average of all 3 classes, we knew there was a school level formula. W1A1, W2A2, W3A3. You divide by W1 plus W2 plus W3. But A1, A2, A3 is the average, which I know. W1, W2, W3 is what? This is the number of people in X, Y, and Z. Either I should know the number or I should know the ratio of people. Ratio of number of people in X, Y, and Z. If someone says the answers cannot be determined because I do not know the number of people in X, Y, and Z, I guess we are mistaken then. If you relate this with X is known, Y is known, 83 and 76, and X and Y combined is known, I cannot get the actual number of people in X and Y, but I can get the ratio of X and Y. You get the ratio of X and Y, you get the ratio of Y and Z. So by combining 2 equations, you will get the value of X, Y, and Z, which you will have to plug in here. And then by making this equation solve the given question. But if you ask me, that much is not required. If you read the question really well, though it's 2001 question, but you will not take more than 20 seconds to solve the question. So let's see this. X says the average of X is 83. The average of Y is 76. And X and Y combined is 79. So if I ask you this question, how many of you have played a game called as Tug of War? How many of you who are live have played or at least know there's a game called as Tug of War? So what is the objective, Hardik? You basically have 2 set of people who are trying to pull the rope on the either side, either on the right side or on the left side. Who wins? Whoever pulls the rope. Whoever pulls the rope, I repeat, whoever pulls the rope will win the match. Basically, the intensity of number of people and the weight will be deciding who pulls the rope. Same is the concept of average. You have 2 class X and Y. They have certain unit. Everyone is 83. Everyone is 76, and they are trying to pull the average. I repeat, they are trying to pull the average. Wherever the difference between the combined average and the individual average is less, that side will have more number of people. So you will say, here the gap is 3. Here the gap is 4. So Y pulled the average. So by doing this, you can just observe and say Y has more number of people than X. Can I say, just tell me this, can I say Y has more number of people than X? Because people of Y pull the average towards themselves. Can I say that? Yes or no? Similarly, Y is 76, Z is 85, and combiningly they are on 81. So where is the gap more? Here the gap is 4, here the gap is 5. So can we say Z is more number of people than Y and Y has more number of people than X? Though we have we wrote something, then we found out. But if you read the question, you can still calculate this. Z is more than Y and Y is more than X in terms of number of people. Now you can take any of the equation. Utkarsha, let's assume Y and Z combiningly, everyone is on 81. What is left to find out the overall average is x, and x is on 83. Average means you have to make sure unequal values meet in the common range. Unequal values meet in the given range. If values of 81 and values of 83 are about to meet, wherever they will meet, I repeat, wherever they will meet between 81 and 83 only, right? They will meet between 81 and 83. So 81 goes out, 84.5 goes out. There are two options which are available. So y and z, so some of you will say the answer could be 82. No, it is not going to happen. Let me give you a very simple example. The average of 2 and 4 will be 3 because there is only one person on 2 and one person on 4. When would the rope will not get pulled on either side? When the number of people on both the sides are same. Same is the case. When the number of people in both the groups are same, the average will be on the midpoint. But you know, dude, that y and z has more number of people than x. So y and z will pull the average. So the average will be always between 81 and 82. There's only one value, which is 81.5, which will be the final answer. Is this clear? Though we have two options in the range 81 and 83, there are two options 81.5 and 83. You will not mark 82 because 82 says you are assuming that among y and z and x, both of them would be same. But you only said that y and z has more number of people than x. So how can the answer lie on the midpoint? The answer will always be on the midpoint and wherever more number of people are standing. Where do you see more number of people standing? It's y and z. So weighted average is a concept of tug of war. You have to assume everyone who's standing on either side of the rope, they're all of equal weight. The intensity of rope getting pulled on either side will be dependent on number of people. If it is pulled on the right side has more number of people. If it is getting pulled on the left side has more number of people. Is this clear to all of you? Yes or no? Everyone out here, I want it to be an open discussion with respect to understanding questions and way of solving the question. So I would appreciate if you participate in the discussion. It's okay to ask more doubts, but I would need some participation from your side too. Hardik, sure. So as said, weighted average is a game of tug of war. Some people are trying to pull the rope. When would the rope not get pulled on either side? When the number of people on both the sides are same. Right? Same is the case. Some people are on x, some people are on y. The average of x is 83, the average of y is 76, the combined average is 79. You will say here the gap is 3, here the gap is 4. So you will say y has more number of people than x. Similarly, y and z, y has 76, z has 85 average. Combined average is, when you mix y and z, combined is 81. Gap of 4, gap of 5. Who pulled? Z pulled the average. Z pulled the average. Z pulled the average. If Z is pulling the average, you'll say Z has more number of people than Y. Y has more number of people than X. I know Y and Z combiningly, everyone is on 81. Y, Z is on 81. And only part which is left to integrate is X, which is on 83. Average means the lower bound and the upper bound values, they have to make sure they meet somewhere. The lower value is 81, the above value is 83. Now wherever X, Y and Z will meet, Hardik, they will meet between 81 and 83. There are two options which are available, 81.5 and 82. 82 is exactly the midpoint, where the gap is 1, 1. So I'll not mark 82 because you are assuming both of them will be same in number. It is not happening.
Sir, but here why we have taken y, x as one group and x as the another group. We would have taken x and y as one group and z is the another group also now.
You can consider that, but in that case, you will get more values which are fitting into range. X and Y is on 79, Z is on 85. So the answer will be between 79 and 85. Did you understand?
Okay, sir.
So among 79 and 85, you will see majority of the options are coming up, no? 81.5, 82 and 84.5. 3 options coming up. On the other hand, if I consider Y, Z and X, there are only 2 values possible, and you will say 82 is not possible because that is the midpoint. And Y and Z has more number of people.
Okay,
Clear?
sir, got it. Yeah, yeah.
If you want to go ahead with y, z and x, you can still do it. X, y and z, you can still do it. But in that case, I need the exact value of number of people of x and y and z. Clear?
Okay, sir.
In the first case, you don't even need that. It's an observation-based question which you will need to practice. So as said, there are multiple ways in which you can solve the question. You can solve the same question by mixture allegation, weighted average concept, and lot many other concepts. But it all depends on the options and what to choose and what not to choose among the given statements available. Clear? Okay. Okay, solve this question. I want all of you to read this question once. And then we'll discuss about what needs to be done. The question says 10 years ago. The question says 10 years ago, the age of members of a joint family of 8 people add up to 231. Add up to 231. 3 years later, one member died at the age of 60 and the child was born in the same year. After another 3 years, one more person died at the age of 60 and again a child was born. The current average age of 8 members family is nearest to what is the question. The current average age, I repeat, the current average age of 8 member family is nearest to what? So I'll give you a minute to think, read through the options and the questions both well. And if you want to discuss about the approach which you are considering to solve the question, please unmute. We can have a good discussion. Else, you can take a minute to read through the question. This is 2007 actual question of CAT. So you guys are able to understand the question and read the question well. You guys have read the question well, I believe. You guys are able to process some equations which are required to solve the question. 10 years ago, the average age 10 years ago, the age of members of a joint family of 8 people was 231. Total age was 231. 3 years later, one person died at the age of 60. Hardik, I'm not sure. I will have to calculate it, but all the options are close. After another 3 years, one more person died at the age of 60. Now the question is, find the current average age means today's age. The data is of 10 years old. So the average age will also change of 6 people. Why 6 people? Because 2 of them died and 2 of them took birth. So their actual age we can calculate from with respect to today's date. And the other people, 6 people who were retained since the inception, that average we would have to calculate. You are saying D. I don't think so. The answer seems to be D. It doesn't seem the answer is D. Ninad says it's A. Okay. So let's see if we can solve the question. Let's see. The question says the total age of the family of 8 people was 231 10 years ago. So 10 years ago it was 231. 10 years ago it was 231. Let's consider the year 2010 versus 1990. So in 1990 the total age was 231. 3 years later one person died. So the person in 1993 someone died and someone took birth. Then in 1996 someone died and someone took birth, right? In 93 someone who died. In 93 someone who died was 60 years old. If in 90 someone who died was 60 years old, what could be his age in 1990? What could be his age in 1990? 57. Someone who died in the year 1996 was 60 years old. What could be his age in the year 1990? 54. So let me remove the sum of these two years, 54 minus plus 54. So I'm removing these two ages, which I don't want. Someone who took birth in 1993, what would be the age in 2010? How much? Someone who took birth in the year 1993, what is going to be the current age? 7 if I'm not wrong. Someone who took birth in the year 1996, what will be his age? 4 years. So the total addition that we are doing here is basically 7 plus 4. Now this is 231 with respect to the year 1990. This is with respect to 1990 also. So here we had 8 people, 2 we removed. So ideally 6 people retained from 1990 to 2010, right? So obviously the age of these 6 people will also increase, no? The age of these 6 people to whom nothing happened will also increase because I counted the age of the year 1990, not of the 6 people's age of the year 2010, right? Each of them is increasing by 10. From 1990, each of them is increasing by 10. Overall, how many of them are increasing? 6 of them are increasing. Overall, how many of them are increasing? 6 of them are increasing. So basically, this value will be again 10 into 6. So calculate this value first. 231 plus 11 plus 60 minus 57 plus 54. What is the overall value? What is the overall value? 191. So you're getting the overall value to be as 191. We know 191 is the 2010 ka actual total age. So you have to divide 191 by 8. Why you don't have to divide 191 by 6? Because dude, 2 more children took birth. No? So the total age is, total number of people is 8. 191 by 8. What is the answer? 191 by 8. What is the answer? You're getting 23.8. Closest to it will be 24. Hence the answer for the given question will be 24. The closest answer which you can mark, have to mark, will be 24 years. Is this clear to all of you? Is there any single doubt? So we are considering the age of 2010. We had 1990. We took the reference of 1990, removed 2 people, added 2 people, and the 6 people's average age will also increase. That's the overall calculation. 231 minus 111 basically is nothing but the age of 6 people, which will increase by 60 because we are counting 10 years from then. And then we are increasing it by 7 and 4, which are 2 new people who got added. So it's 191 divided by 8, which is 24, roughly 24. So very well, you have solved 2007 question of average. The concept is same, just the intensity and complexity will keep on changing depending on the year in which you are writing the paper. solve this question. Again, a very template stereotype question which comes here on here. Which comes here on here. Solve this question. This is, you can categorize this either into ratio proportion or percentage based question. Take a minute to understand and comprehend what the question is about. A student got an average of 60% marks in 5 subjects in the ratio of 10:9:8:7:6. If the passing percentage is 50% of the maximum marks, then how many subjects did he actually pass? Because if the passing percentage is 50%. How much is the answer? Some of you are telling me 6, 3, or okay. So let's assume the ratio of 5 papers is 10x plus 9x plus 8x plus 7x plus 6x. 10 plus 9 plus 8 plus 7 plus 6 will become how much? 40x. This 40x is the total my marks. This is the score of my individual paper marks. If I assume the maximum marks in each paper is y, the total marks will be 5y. The total marks will be 5y. And it says the aggregate of 60% of 5 subjects is this much. So 60% of 5y will be equal to 40x. 60% of 5y will be 3y. So 3y will be equal to 40x. So x will be equal to 3 upon 40 y. If we are right, x will be equal to 3 by 40 y. So you got the relationship between x and y. The first value is 10x. So the first paper will be 3 into 10 upon 40, which is how much? 30 upon 40. 30 upon 40 is more than 50%. So this is going to qualify. Next is 9 into 3 upon 40, 27 upon 40. You need minimum 50%. 50% of 40 is 20. So just consider, where do you get more than 20? 27 is more than 20. This is going to qualify. Next is 8. 8 3s is 24, which is more than 20. This is also going to qualify. Next is 7. 7 3s is 21. 21 is more than 20. This also qualified. 6 into 3 is 18. This is under qualifying. This is not qualifying. So out of 4 out of 5, I got 4 of them, which are actually qualifying more than 50% of 40. Is this clear? So I assumed it to be 10x, 9x, 8x, 7x, and 6x. This is equal to 40x. This is something which has been given to me. This is equal to the aggregate of 60% of total. Individual paper maximum marks I assumed it to be 5. Total will be 5y. And I want 60% of that. 60% of 3 is 5. So 3y will be equal to 40x. So x is equal to 3 upon 40 of y. Now you have 10x, 9x, 8x, 7x, and 6x. Keep on multiplying the value by the respective 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 of a value. You will get it very easily which of them, how many of them are actually qualifying. Is this clear to all of you? Out here, is this clear to all of you? Yes or no? Everyone, is this clear? This was 1999 CAT. Okay. Take this question. So if you want, I'll give you 2 minutes to read and comprehend what the question is. And then we'll see. This is so we are solving question number 23 and 24. Two questions, 23 and 24. So take 2 minutes of your time. We'll read the entire question well, and then let's have a discussion. So 2 minutes from now, we'll start discussion. Okay, all of you understood the question? All of you understood the question? Yes or no?
Excuse me, sir, I have a doubt.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So over here it is said that subsequent bottles are available at a discount of 30%.
Yes.
That means if when he's paying 520, the other one will be minus 30%. So what about the
Yes.
third one? Will it be the
All 30%. After first, everyone will be on 30% off.
Okay.
Let's calculate the cost of all the 3 bottles. The cost of first bottle is how much? 520 bucks. This is 520, and the other 2 you are getting at 30% rebate, which is 70% of 520. Right? So tell me the cost of 3 bottles first. Tell me the cost of 3 bottles. 520 plus twice of 70% of 520. Yes, guys and girls. 1248. So the total value is 1248. This 1248, they are dividing among all. So each of them will share how much? What do each of them have to give? It's 416 butts, right? Let's actually calculate the values which has been given. So it has been said, let's see first, R pays 2 euros. So what is the value of R which he paid? Conversion of butts to euros has been given to you, yes or no? Yes. So it's 2 into 46, which is 92 butts. What about the next person? Next person is M. M is 4 euros. So 4 into 46 plus 27. How much did M give? M gave 324. M gave 324. If, see this, if M gave 324, R gave 92, the other person who is S will give how much? He is going to give 1248 minus so it's 416, my bad. It's 416. No. So 1248 is basically the overall cost. 1248 is basically the overall cost which they have to pay. Out of that, R has paid 92, B has paid 324. So how much S will pay? So I think this will give 1248 minus 92 plus 324. What is the final value that S will pay? Did you find out the value of S like this only, right? So the total value is 1248, subtracting the value of what R is paid and what M is paid. Like this only you have found out, right? So the value of S you are getting is 945. So I'm going on the values which you guys are telling me. It's 92 here, 324 here, and 945 is what R is paid. Now tell me the values, which is the difference, which is the overall question. How much did R owe to S? How much did R owe to S? How much did R owe to S? So it's 416 minus 92, the value will be 324. All of you have gave me the right answer, perfect. Next, how much did M owe to S in dollar? First tell me in butts. First tell me, I guess you have all the values in butts. So in butts, how much is the overall value? In butts, how much is the overall value? 205, and $1 is equivalent to 41 butts. So you divide by 41, the value will become $5. All of you gave the right answer, and yes, the answer is 5 for 24 and 324 is for question number 3. Good. So both the questions we were able to solve of the year 2003. Let's go ahead and solve some more questions. Okay. Read the question well. The question again is of a topic of percentage. There's no content of ratio proportion which has been involved in this. So I'll give you 2 minutes to think through what the question has been given to you. Hardik, yes, you can ask me it out.
For the previous one, we had the price of the bottle as 520 bahts, and after that there was 30% discount consequently.
Yes.
So if 520 ka 30% in minus, then it becomes 364, and after that it becomes 109.2.
No, you will not do that, no?
So
It has been said, if you read the question, only on the first bottle you have to pay the overall cost. On all the subsequent bottle, you have to pay 30% of the MRP.
okay, 30% of the MRP. Okay, so got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
Okay. Read this question. This deals with some fixed cost and variable cost, and you have some. So how many of you have from production? Is there anyone from production in this batch? So if you can just mention your branch, please mention your branch. All of you, if you can mention your branch. I'll get some clear picture about the diversity of this batch also then. Okay, others? Forms, production. All right, good. Perfect. Okay, go on. Read the question well. Slightly some textiles, initially some IT, Pratnesh some comms. Perfect. Okay. Read the question well. I'll give you 2 minutes to think and read, and then we shall take it ahead. Please read the question well. The question says, the following graph represents the variable cost of widgets as the production of the quantity produced. As a function of the quantity produced, the cost of production has two components. One is the variable cost, which is being given to you in the graph. And second is the fixed cost, which is 800 rupees in the first shift and which can produce 30 units. And if you want to produce more than 30, you have to run the second shift. Obviously, when you run the second shift, you basically have to absorb the fixed cost once again. But at this time, the fixed cost is not 800, this is going to be 1200. That's what being given to you. Marginal cost has been defined as the change in total cost for producing one more unit. So if you have produced 40 units and if you produce 41 units, the difference of the cost of 40 and 41 units will be the marginal cost of producing one extra unit. Okay, I hope all of you have read the question well, and now let's solve the question. Let's solve the question. The question says, what is the average cost in unit? What is the average cost if the number of units produced in July is 40? Now your average cost is the total cost divided by number of units. Number of units is 40 and the total cost is going to be fixed cost plus the variable cost. It is fixed cost plus the variable cost, right? This is going to be the fixed cost and the variable cost. So what is the variable cost? looking at the graph, if you can tell me the estimated or roughly or nearby variable cost of producing 40 units is how much? Yes. This is going to be close to how much? 4,000 you're considering. Okay. Let's assume my variable cost is 4,000, but you are producing 40 units. In batch 1, you can produce only 30. So 800 of the fixed cost of batch 1 plus 1,200, which is the fixed cost of batch 2. This is the overall cost which you have to bear. And this basically is for how many units? This is for 40 units. This is 2,000. 2,000 plus 4,000 is 6,000. And 6,000 by 40. What is the value? What is the value? What is the value? You got that, right? 2,000, 4,000, 6,000. 6,000 by 40 is a per unit cost. So the actual value seems to be closer. It's going to be slightly less than 150 because it's not exactly 4,000. It's slightly less than 4,000. Slightly less than 150. There's only one option, which is 140. So you're going to mark option number B. Since there's no option which is none of these, so cannot be none of these. So you'll mark option number B as the final answer. Is this clear? C. To find question number 25, if the number of units increase from 40 to 41, what is the marginal cost? You need the exact data mapping between the X and the Y axis, which is not available to you. So you will not be able to solve question number 25 exactly. Same as 26. Solve 27. Solve question number 27. Solve question number 27. The question is, what number of widgets or unit in terms of unit will give you the maximum profit? See, maximum profit के लिए you need the minimum cost. So obviously 40 goes out and 60 goes out. Because to produce 40 and 60, you have to bear the additional cost of 1,200, which comes in batch 12, batch 2. This goes out, right? Now, the relationship between X and Y is parabolically. So it's not a linear relationship between X and Y in terms of unit and the total variable cost, which gives you an inference that the lower the number of units may be, the maximum will be the profit. The lower the number of units would be, the lower will be the cost, and the lower the cost is, the maximum will be the profit. Clear? So out of 30 and 25, out of 30 and 25, you're going to mark 25 as the lowest unit on which you will get the maximum profit, and not 30. What about question number 28? What about question number 28? What the question says, what number of units being in the range of 0 to 60 has been produced? So which of the following is going to be correct? The average cost increase consistently. You are saying that the average cost reduces consistently. The average cost decreases first till minimum and then increases. The average cost increases and then to the maximum and then decreases. What do you think the answer would be? So the parabolical relationship between x-axis and y-axis will tell you the fact that even if you don't consider that, consider it to be of two ranges, 0 to 30 and 30 to 60. Here, your cost is again increasing. Here, your overall cost is to a level of extent that the cost is minimized. If the cost is getting minimized to go to from 0 to 30, you will say your overall cost, the average cost, is going to first decrease to a level of extent where it can decrease the maximum, and then it's going to increase because here you are absorbing more fixed cost of the second batch also, right? So among all the options, you're going to mark option number C. Because considering that only, you told me the answer is going to be 25 for question number 27 and not 60 and 40, right? You only told me the answer is going to be 25 of the previous question. So I am not counting it's going to go till 30, but in the range of 30, nearby to 30, 25, 30, 21, whatever it may be. To that particular number, the cost is going to be reduced to the maximum level of extent that it can be. Post then, the cost is going to increase when you go from that number to 60. Is this clear to all of you? Okay, a good question which I can give you. Again, this is a template question which comes repeatedly in CAT examination. This is 2001 question. I'll give you a minute, only a minute to think. I mean, you don't need the effort of actually finding the percentage. The question says, the owner of an art shop conducts the business in the following manner. Each time you raise the price by X percentage and reduce the price by X percentage. This is called a successive percentage change. When the percentage value keeps on changing many a times, that pattern is called a successive percentage change. This is of the type where the value is first increasing and then decreasing. After one such cycle, the price of a painting is reduced by 441 rupees. After the second cycle, the price is reduced by 1944.81. And the question to you is, what is the original price of the painting? Let me give you a minute to think. None of you will take more than 1 minute to solve this question. Please go on. Read the entire question well. If you have read the question, let's solve it together. I hope all of you who are live have read the question. Let's solve it now. I mean, it's one of the questions where you don't need much of the mathematical or percentage understanding. By reading the questions and the option, you can very well answer the question. The question says, the owner of the art shop increases by X percentage and reduces by X percentage. So imagine, let's say there's a unit of 100 rupees. It first increased by 10% and then reduced by 10%. It means initially it became 110. On 110, you gave the reduction of 10%, which is 11. And the value will become 99, which means 100 rupee value is being sold off for 99. This concept is called as successive percentage change, which is given by change of A, change of B, and change on change. If both the values are increasing, you will have plus A, plus B, and plus A percentage of B. If both the values are reducing, it is minus A, minus B, plus A percentage of B. Why plus? Because minus into minus is plus. In this case, one is increasing, one is decreasing. So it's A minus B, plus into minus is minus, minus A percentage of B. In the given question, both the values are same, 10 and 10. So ideally the question says it is plus 10, minus 10, minus 10% of 10. So A and A gets cancelled. It's minus 10% of 10, which is minus 1. So consider this way. If a value increases by X and reduces by X, the overall change will be X squared upon 100 in terms of percentage. Why X squared? Because 10 into 10 is nothing but 10 squared. A into A is nothing but A square. Is this clear to all of you? Is this clear to all of you? If a value increases by 10% or X percentage and reduces by X percentage, the final value is going to decrease by X square upon 100. Is this clear to all of you who are live? Okay, now this is not a matter of the question, but read the question. You have a value of Y units. Let's assume this. You reduce by X square upon 100. After one such reduction, so it says X square upon 100 percentage of Y is nothing but 441. It's nothing but 441. This is phase 1. Again, you will reduce by X square upon 100 of the reduced value. Again, it will reduce by something, and the final value has been stored of 91994.81. If you read the option well, I am saying options such as 2256 and 2000 is never possible. Because if I reduce 2000 minus 441, in the first stage only it's going to go less than 1944. After 2 cycle, I want to reach on 1944. Is this clear? Utkarsh, Hardik, Rohit, Hardik, everyone. After 2 reductions, I want to reach 1944. If I reduce 441 on 2000, it's going to be on 1600. This is not possible. Same way 2256 is also not possible. Is this clear? So there are only 2 options possible. I'm checking with 2500. If this is giving me the answer, I'm going to mark this. If not, this is the answer. So 2500 minus 441. What is the value? What is the value? 2500 minus 2441. What is the value? After one reduction, the value will come to what? The value will come to what? Come on. It's 2059, right? So you are saying the value reduced by 441 upon 2500. Tell me the percentage reduction. I repeat. My question to all of you. My question to you is, what is 441 upon 2500? This is 1 cycle reduction. How much? Roughly 441 upon 2500. Roughly reduction is how much? It's roughly 17 or 18%. Let's consider it to be roughly 18%. Which means next time also you will reduce 18% of 2059. Now my question is, if the values retained only 82% of 2059, do you think 1944 will come, or the value which is less than 1944 will come? Hardik, Bhushan, Utkarsh, a very simple logic. If you reduce 18% of 2050 or 2060, do you think you will get 1944, or you will get a value which is less than 1944? It's very clear, evident. It's less than 1944. So you'll not even mark this. Very smartly, you're going to mark 2756 as the only option left. Is this clear? Everyone, is this clear? All of you, right? All of you, this is clear, right? Solve this question, 2003 question. Read the question well. The question says a leather factory produces 2 kinds of bags. One is a standard and second is a deluxe bag. The profit margin on standard bags is 20 rupees. The profit margin on deluxe bags is 30 rupees. Every bag must be processed on machine A and machine B respectively. On machine A and machine B respectively, you have to produce. The processing times per bag of the 2 machines is being given to you. So a standard bag has to go through machine A and machine B, which is 4 hours and 6 hours. Deluxe will go 5 hours on A and 10 hours on B. The question says the total time available with A is 700 units. The total time available with B is 1250 units. Among the following production plants, Which one of the following meets the availability constraint and maximizing the profit? And maximizing the profit. And maximizing the profit. 2003. I want profit to be maximum. I want my what do you want now? You want this. The machine's availability should also be, the constraint should also be met. So if you read the question well, the profit margin on standard is 20 and the profit margin on deluxe is 30. So what do you think? What should you produce more? Should you produce more of standard or should you produce more of deluxe? Should you produce more of standard or should you produce more of deluxe? To maximize your profit, Dhanashri, Rohit, everyone, more of deluxe, right? Let's see the option. Where do you see not more deluxe? 75, 80, 80 is more, 50, 100, 100 is more, 60, 90, 90 is more, but 160, 60 is less. So B will not be the answer. Is this clear? Is this clear? B cannot be the answer, right? Now you have to look into only one thing. Check the machine availability. Machine availability should also give you the constraint of 700 units of machine A and 1250 of machine B. A option says it's 75 units which you need to produce and 80 of deluxe. 80 of deluxe. So standard will give you 75 of A, right? And machine B. So if you can do a simple math with respect to checking the availability of the number of hours with machine A and machine B, with machine A and machine B will be equivalent to how much? So 75 into 4 plus 80 into 5. This value should be less than or equal to 700. Similarly, 75 into 6 plus 80 into 10 should be equal to or less than 1250. Likewise, just check for A, C, and D, you will get the answer. Like this, just check for A, C, and D, you will get the answer. You are saying D. If I consider D with machine B with option D gives you 60 into 6 plus 90 into 10. This is 900 and this is 360. This is 1260 which you are getting, but the available unit is only 1250, which is not possible. Ideally, if you just look at the option, B is eliminated, D will not come, C will not come. Why not C? Because if I check the unit for machine B, it's 50 into 6 plus 100 into 10. This is 1000. This is 300. This is 1300. Available number of hours is 1250. So just by looking at the option, B, C, D goes out. So it's only option A which is left. Is this clear to all of you? Is this clear? All right, so on this note, I'll stop because I don't want everything of a level up to be covered on session 1. The recording of the session is something which I'll give you. I also want you to follow some authentic resource. I can share the links of all the authentic resource, or I can share the material which the institution provides with all of you, which will help you out to practice questions too. The only thing which I want all of you is if you can make a WhatsApp group and add my number there, I can share all the assignment of the lectures in terms of PDF and the previous papers too, which you can actually practice by yourself. So if any one of you can take the initiative, I guess there are 71 people who are there who have registered for the CAT course. I don't think so. I have not been added there. Dhanashri, if you can add me there, possibly I can share some of the links which you guys would need. And at the same time, I also would have to share the recording of the session, which is going to happen on a daily basis with all of you. All right. So on this note, we'll stop the session for today. It was great interacting with all of you. I want you to put 5 to 6 hours on a weekly basis. Not more than that will be required for all of you who are preparing for the CAT examination, because I guess majority of you who are there live are attempting CAT 2021, right? Is there anyone who's applying for CAT 2020 in this group? Is there anyone who's applying for CAT 2020? You can just DM me on the given number. I'll share some more content with you which you have to go through so that you are prepared enough for the given examination. The rest, we'll have a session tomorrow also. Tomorrow's session is going to start at 11. So 11 to 1, I believe we have a time slot. So we'll see you tomorrow then. So it was great interacting with all of you. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you.